Hello, welcome to Stretford Paddock. This is the news. My name is Joe, and we're going to be looking at the latest Manchester United stories, and it is all about Ralph Rangnick's team and their absolutely dismal performance last night against Newcastle. He's been speaking out after the game. Pundits have been speaking out after the game. Journalists have been speaking out after the game. You've been speaking out after the game, and we're going to be going through exactly what has been said because Ralph is absolutely fuming. By the looks of things, the performance was of the ilk that we saw toward the end of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tenure at Manchester United, giving the ball away the most that we've given it away all season. I think it was 167 times we gave the ball away in 90 minutes against Newcastle. And it seems as though some of the errors, some of the mistakes, some of the performances that, like we said, got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer sacked not 6 weeks ago, have already come back and have failed to have been extinguished in this Manchester United squad. And it's a cause for concern. And it's a cause to maybe look at things slightly differently than we have been over the last few weeks as Manchester United fans. Get your thoughts in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on the game last night. Let's get into it. Let's have a look at some of Ralph Rangnick's quotes after the performance last night. He said, "I didn't like the performance at all. Today we didn't control the game apart from a few moments. It's all about energy, physicality, and who wins the second balls. In those areas we weren't at our best. The good thing is we got a point and the performance needs to be better." And this is a crucial bit. I want to talk about this. He said, in three days we have the next game. We can do better, but we have to do it. We shouldn't look for excuses. We need to get better and get more physical. I wasn't happy with our performance with the ball or when we had to press. What kind of energy mode do we play with and without the ball? And there's a point where he also said about the physicality of Manchester United, where he was talking about the fact that we didn't go for those second balls, as he mentioned there, and he mentioned as well how United didn't play the way that we're supposed to. We didn't go for it. Like these are things where you say, for the last few months watching Manchester United under Solskjaer, the word that was used so often is tactics. There isn't enough tactics. Where are the tactics? If we don't see the tactics, the press isn't there. There's no press. There's no tactics. What is it? And Ollie would say after games, the players weren't on it today. Or you know, the physicality wasn't there. And you go, oh, it's not about physicality, it's not about trying hard. People, you know, you get talked and called a passion merchant or whatever it is when you say these players need to work harder. These players need to win second balls. And it seems like Sunday League stuff. And all of a sudden you've got one of the best tactically understanding managers or tactically drilled managers in the history of football, someone who's inspired a generation of managers. And he's saying things like, we need to get to second balls better. Second balls is a five-a-side Sunday League thing. What the ball bounces, you got to get to the second ball. Or the ball gets spilled out from a tackle, you get to the second ball. These aren't high tactical concepts. This is Ralph Rangnick questioning the very sort of nature of these players. Are you willing to just try hard? Are you willing to, you know, get hurt or, you know, go into that second tackle when you might not be the favourite for it? Are you willing to sprint a second time when you're still tired from the first sprint? These are the things that are being questioned here. This isn't to do with they don't understand the tactics. This is what kind of energy do we play with and without the ball? Energy? That's not, you know, writing down that you stand here, you pass the ball here, pull it back, tap it in. That's not tactics or, you know, high concept stuff. Energy, work rate, ability and willingness to, you know, play through the pain barrier. These are the things that are being questioned. He said here, it wasn't a question of body language, it was a question of body physicality. If you want to be competitive, you have to get physical, and that wasn't the case. That's like, these are fundamental questions being asked of these players, manager after manager after manager. And I think for the first time, we've got a manager in that we know that, you know, Rangnick hasn't had time to build his squad yet, so there's no one saying he's failed as a manager. We're in a unique period under a manager where no one is blaming him yet, and quite rightly so. You know, Solskjaer had 3 years to get this team sorted. Jose had, was it 2.5 years, 3 years to get this team sorted, and they failed to do that to any meaningful degree. I know Jose won a couple of trophies, but, you know, he didn't take us back to where we'd like to be as a club. Rangnick is in the early parts of his tenure, and we're still seeing the same problems that we've seen from some of these players for 5-6 years now. Some of them, obviously, much more recent purchases, you know, but for whatever reason, this is permeating the whole squad. And it's something that is very worrying, really, because this isn't the sort of thing you expect. You expect that work rate, discipline, and the ability to not the ability to follow instructions, but the willingness to follow instructions. You assume those as a given. They're the things that, and I say this a lot. People say, "Oh, they're paid $100,000 a week. We shouldn't have mental health issues." Whatever, rubbish. No amount of money makes you happier. No amount of money makes you less, get injured less. I don't subscribe to that. But the one thing I always say is, if you get paid a hell of a lot of money, you should work hard. That's the sort of thing that money does pay for. You work as hard as you possibly can. You're being paid $100,000 a week, pretty much minimum these days as a Manchester United footballer. You have to work as hard as you possibly can. That is the minimum requirement. And these are the things being questioned time and time again from us watching at home, from the manager who sat on the sideline saying we weren't physical enough, we didn't go for second balls. How basic do we have to get here before we can start rebuilding? How low down do we have to go before we go, right, here's our level. We're not even going for second balls, not let alone, the finer details of a intense and detailed pressing system. We're here. We're still working on second balls and energy. Like, we have to drop so low. The wall has to be taken so low. It's so rotten from here to here. This is where we're rebuilding from. It's embarrassing as a Manchester United fan at the moment. And obviously, he's unbeaten. We didn't lose the game yesterday. I guess the idea of winning the Premier League was already out of everyone's mind, so we haven't lost anything there. Top four is still very much a possibility. We're 7 points behind Arsenal with 2 games in hand. You could say, what's lost? What was lost by that yesterday? But it's just indicative of a performance that not just got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer sacked, which, by the end, I think we all agreed that was the right thing. It became untenable for him at Manchester United. But, these are the sorts of performances that turn people's minds against a club legend in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who people end up calling him a disgrace and all these sorts of things for the way the way his team was playing. And we're just seeing it again. And it's like these players are resorting to type. They don't know what to do. They're not willing to change. I don't know what it is. But we need to start seeing some changes soon, because I think they aren't getting the cover, and they haven't got the man to fall on his sword in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer that they had a few months ago. And now we're seeing it for what it is, which is players seemingly unwilling to try hard. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. The truth is that they don't care. That's according to Akita. Daniel Kirk says top four is gone. It's not gone. We're only 19 games into the season, and like I said, we're the team that's currently in fourth. We are 7 points behind with 2 games in hand. Top four absolutely isn't gone. And obviously the very nature of a top four team is they're inconsistent. Arsenal lost 2 games in a week 2 weeks ago. So they're more than capable, and not just capable, they will drop a lot of points between now and the end of the season, because Arsenal aren't a great team and Tottenham aren't a great team. Top four isn't gone, but it's difficult. Christopher Singh says, loving the just out of the shower look, thank you. You've got to be clean, haven't you? Joe London says, Conte exists. Yeah, he does exist, but that Tottenham squad is quite poor. Obviously, he seems to be getting a bit of a tune out of them now, but he said a lot of these things when he joined Tottenham. 2 or 3 weeks into his Tottenham tenure, he was saying how the players aren't working hard enough. The players aren't willing to do what I'm saying. The players are lazy. The players aren't doing it. And everyone said, Conte's losing it. Well, actually, they needed a bit of a kick up the arse. Ray Meester says, we're not a great team. But the problem is, we are. We are a very good team. Player for player, this is a very good team. The midfield is lacking, obviously. We can all see that. Fred and McTominay is not even a top 6 midfield, let alone a sort of Premier League title challenging midfield. But Steve made a good point on the fan cam last night. We've got 6 or 7 elite attacking players. Genuinely elite. Rashford on his day, which we haven't seen admittedly for months or, a long time now. But Rashford on his day is a 20-plus goal winger, which there aren't many of those in the world. Greenwood is he can get you 20 goals as a teenager. There aren't many of them in the world. Ronaldo is Ronaldo. Cavani, we know how good he is. Sancho, the numbers he's been putting up in Germany for the last 3 years have been unbelievable. And then you put Bruno Fernandes in there, one of the best, if not the best creative midfielder in the world for the last 3 years. We've got great attacking talent. Defensively, on paper, Luke Shaw, one of the best players at the Euros. Harry Maguire, one of the best players at the Euros. Varane, one of the best central defenders in the world for the last decade. Lindelof, a good ball-playing centre-back. You got Wan-Bissaka, best one-on-one defender in Europe, probably. On paper, these aren't this bad. And regardless of how bad, the deficiencies of the midfield may be, not going for second balls, not working hard, not fighting, not showing energy, It's just an embarrassment, to be honest. And for some reason, I woke up this morning almost more frustrated than I was last night. Because, yes, you got a draw last night. You can sort of go, okay, it's not the end of the world. But you look at the performance and you look at the reaction to the performance, and it is absolutely embarrassing, really, that sort of performance. James Ducker last night saying the concept of keeping the ball is alien to this Manchester United team. They win back possession and then quickly concede it cheaply, attempting passes that aren't on or that they shouldn't be attempting. Big difference between taking risk and routinely making the wrong decision. Woeful half from them. And talking about decision-making, we'll move on in a second, but talking about decision-making, there was a point yesterday where, and Fred is a player that has been given criticism and praise in almost equal measure over the last 18 months. He's great one game, he's woeful the next game. We all know what everyone thinks about Fred. But McTominay slid in for the ball, and I thought got fouled. He got the ball and he got tackled, and I thought he was fouled in the opposition half. Then Fred miscontrols the ball. So one of your central defensive midfielders is on the floor, taken out of the game, and Scott McTominay. And now Fred has to recoup, and he has to go again with that midfield. He has to be the single-man midfield that can stop the counter-attack from Newcastle. What he does is he sprints over to Joelinton, steps in, dives in, is on the floor. And now they're running straight at our defence. That is mindless football. If you have a partner in there, in Scott McTominay, and he's on the floor, the last thing you do is sprint out of position and dive in. And if you do dive in, you have to foul him, because otherwise they're running at our defence. And this is the thing, the likes of Maguire and Varane made mistakes last night, and Maguire's made a lot this season. But when you've got no midfield in front of them, or you've got players that are that, playing just in this mindless fashion, they're going to have so much extra work to do that it could make any centre-back look poor. So it's just that sort of the play of the football of players that are struggling to think for themselves or to do the right thing or to retain information. I don't know what it is, but it's not good enough at the moment at Manchester United. Right, let's move on. Oh dear me. We'll skip past the Neville stuff because we've sort of mentioned it there. There's a little bit of a rumour surrounding De Jong. Frenkie De Jong from Barcelona, and the fact that Arsenal are trying to get in on him now. We've heard and we've seen and we've read that Manchester United are interested in Frenkie De Jong, and I believe, and whether that's still a target for Ralf Rangnick, that was a target for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer this winter. He's been linked with a move to Manchester United. This is from the Express, so again, take that with a pinch of salt. But apparently, Arsenal are willing to try to hijack this deal. You know what? I'm not having it. I'm not having that they're going after him. They can't afford him. Why would he go there? It's not going to happen, is it? I don't think he'll come to Man United, to be honest. I think we'd like to get him, but I think it'll be very difficult to get, one of the sort of star names of that Barcelona team, one of the few star names they've got left. Trying to get him out of Barcelona is going to be difficult, but Arsenal ain't getting him. And they're probably going to do it now to make me look a twat because, the amount of piss taking we've done out of Arsenal in the last 18 months, and now they're above us in the league. But that's how football works. You have to take it with a pinch of salt. You have to, take the shit when it comes to you because, you don't stay on top forever. But I can't see Arsenal taking Frenkie De Jong. I think it'd be a big shock to see Manchester United get him. Although I do think we want him. I do think we'd like to have him. I'm still pissed off about last night, I'll be honest. I'm trying to get through this Arsenal stuff. I just want to talk more about yesterday. It really annoyed me, that game. But yeah, Kaiser says, Ollie wouldn't call out the players, let alone bench them. I expect Rangnick to prepare the axe right now. Yeah, maybe. The problem is certain players are difficult to bench because the alternatives we've seen in the past aren't any better. And obviously you can do it from, Rashford or any of the attacking players are much more easy to bench because, like I said before, we've got this sort of rotating cast of extras that are just as good, if not better, on any given day than anyone else. Yesterday we had Cavani and Sancho on the bench. Well, they can come in for Bruno and Rashford like that. There you go, sorted. But Maguire's more difficult to replace, and Fred is more difficult to replace, and McTominay's more difficult to replace. You're playing Donny and Matic, could work. Maybe it will work, but we've not seen that it works at any time. And at the moment, you want to take Maguire out. Well, who do you put in? Phil Jones? Eric Bayer wasn't on the bench yesterday. I don't know whether he's injured or COVID or just unavailable. Victor Lindelof has got COVID now, and he had his chest problem a couple of weeks ago. Not all of these players are easy to replace. We've seen in the past of Shaw and Wan-Bissaka. They're both benched. They were both available yesterday. Didn't play a single minute, either of them. But then there's a lot of criticism of Dalot last night when he got skinned a couple of times. So it's not necessarily the case that someone's playing badly, you bench them, things get better. It's more political. There are more working parts than simply don't play him because he's shit, and that'll not only make him better, but also the team better. It doesn't always work like that. So, Rangnick's got his work cut out. That's the thing. This is the biggest job of his life. This is the most difficult job he's ever had, and I think if he's ever going to be pushed, this is it. You're trying to turn around a battleship of a club that is floundering at the moment. And hopefully he can do that. And I think if anyone can, he's got a great possibility of doing that. But it's a big job, and we saw that last night. The first half the first 30 minutes against Crystal Palace is the only time where you've looked at these players since Ole. We can get rid of that off the screen behind us. Thank you. This is the only time those 30 minutes are the only time we've seen these players look any good. Fucking hell. Oh, cheers. Okay. This is the only time we've seen these players look any good. Those 30 minutes against Crystal Palace. And other than that, they've been shit. So, Rangnick's got his work cut out. Sorry about that. Right. Thank you very much for joining us. Like the video. Even if you didn't like Manchester United's performance yesterday, click like on the video and subscribe if you want as well. Thank you very much for joining me, and we'll see you in a bit.